Alright, we're back in the woods here. Once again, we've been taking our trek upstream, up the ravine, and well, we have a downed tree here. Oh, what you're hearing now is the 12 o'clock whistle. The 12 o'clock whistle blows every day at noon. Every day. Now, why does it do that? Well, the farmers a lot of times will be out in the field, and once they hear that 12 noon whistle, that was time for them to go home for lunch. Because if they didn't have lunch, they might have a hard time making it through the whole day. So that's what that is for. So don't be concerned. It's not a tornado warning. If it was a tornado warning, that would be a long blast. And everybody would be wondering, why is that such a long blast? And somebody might say, because I think that's a tornado warning. So it gets everybody home safe and under cover if they need to. Now, this is a fun part of the trail. Years ago, when I met Ellen, we would walk back here every now and then. And when the first time we came back here, we discovered an old buckboard wagon. It was in its full entirety. But that was a long time ago. That was back in the early to mid 80s. And weather has taken its toll on the wagon. And so has the stream. Once the water rises, this water probably comes all the way up here. And it's definitely taken its toll on this wagon. But what you're seeing right in front of you now is the remnants of a wagon. There's the rim of the wheel. Most of the spokes have probably been broken off. So they're really not functionable anymore. But again, this is an old wagon probably put here back by the pioneers years ago. I'm going to guess probably around 1880. You know, in that area. I think that's when this area started really thriving after the pioneers cleared out the land. And here's another piece. So here's actually the front hitch. This is where it would actually hitch on, so to the horses and everything. And then you can kind of see there's the wheels and so on. So yeah, kind of interesting back in here. And like I said, that was a full wagon when I first saw it. Now this is part of a ravine that's coming out of the east field. That goes back up another 100 yards right there. And it connects into the wheat field. But in the heavy rains, this area really collects water. And we were talking about how it gets into the root system. You can kind of see it really takes down trees, roots, anything in its way. And it even comes out into this area, like I say, even around the wagon, cuts in, and then starts settling down. And when it does that, it drops a lot of rock. It picks up rock and has such big force, it just then all of a sudden gets to the point, it starts to dump them all off. And it starts to collect in here. So if you started walking, and you want to start looking for rock, this would be a good place to do it. Now I'd try to look for, I would call historic or Indian rocks, something that might have been used by the Native Americans. I haven't had a whole lot of luck finding anything, but I suppose if you took your time, you started sifting through some stuff here, you could probably find arrowheads and who knows what else. Maybe even some coins back for the old pioneers when maybe they dropped out of their pants pocket and they ended up falling down and getting sucked down into the creeks when the water starts to rise. But you can kind of see this is, I'm right on the creek bed right now. And we're in the upper part of the creek. This is where the water originates. It's fairly close to the south field, the South 40. And it comes down at pretty good force. And when it comes down, you can see it'll take trees with it. So I would not want to be trying to swim in here, especially after a super heavy rain, because the current will really take you. Now here's a tree that went down and it's actually still alive. Isn't that interesting? The root system is still intact. It's been down for about, I would say 6 months, and it hasn't died off. So it tells me that it's still getting water somewhere. Here's some beautiful maples. Remember I was telling you the maples will stick together? Here's a beautiful stand of old maple trees. Huge. And I would say this one right here is probably close to maybe 200 years old. Or at least 150. We'll get a little bit closer and I'll show you how thick that trunk is. Well, what you're seeing in front of you right now is the ravine. And I'm not down below, but let's go down into the creek bed. You can see exactly how high the ravine is right here. Now we're looking up, and now you can kind of see where the crest of the ravine is right there. Beautiful sunlight coming in, and the root system, you can see that's the root system being exposed by the heavy waters and after the rains. Usually the spring is the rainiest part of the season, but you know, you can have some big storms. Now here's this trunk right here of this maple tree. I'm not kidding, that's probably a good 100 inches in diameter. So you can do the math. But that's a biggie. That's a biggie. And it's not uncommon to see that kind of a tree in this area, especially around this ravine. They get a lot of water, and it's very easy for them to grow. But maple trees tend to grow pretty fast anyway. Now most of the time you don't see anything of man-made, but although here's a piece of wood here, this might have washed in, or who knows, it could have even been part of that buckboard wagon that was here at one point. But the stream, you can see, is getting narrower and narrower because the field that comes right off of is right up over this tree right here. And that's where it collects, and then it feeds on down, and it joins up with that other creek that I just had showed you a few minutes ago, coming out of the east field, which right now has wheat. And we can still hear that airplane going overhead, but don't let it mind you. We're not worried about it. He's just spraying the crops. Now we're coming through up in here, another favorite part of the forest. Get up nice and high, kind of above the ravine, but you can see the ravine on this side, and the water coming on. You can see water coming in after a heavy rain here. And then this one kind of does like a little S curve right before your eyes, and then heads up into that south field. But right up in here is a beautiful area if you want to go camping. It's nice and level. Not a whole lot of poison ivy, although there is some. Be a perfect place to put a little cabin right here. It's something small. And then if you wanted to come out here at night, sit on the front porch, and just take a look at that view. That would be your front porch view. Again, a congregating area for the deer as they come out of the fields. They come down to get water, and then they usually settle back up on the other side of those trees up there where you see that sunlight. That becomes a little flatter and a little bit more grassland in there, a little bit more openings for them, and they like that. So we're just about done with our video. And I just want to take you up for a moment to show you where you get into this part of the ravine or the forest. And by the way, we were talking about hickory trees. Here's a shagbark hickory tree. Interesting that they call it shagbark because if you take a look at the bark, it looks like it's falling off. It's not dying or anything. That's normal for this type of tree. But its fruit is a hickory nut. And I don't know if you can see any up there yet, but it won't be long, and you'll have some hickory nuts falling on your head. And I heard that they're actually quite good. Oh, here's one up here. I'll take you, and here's a picture of a hickory nut right here. They're not ready to come off yet, but there you go. So they're pretty good size, and they claim they can be pretty good eating. This might be a little putsy trying to get them out of the shell, but alright, we're coming back out, and you'll get a real good feel on where this forest is compared to the farmhouse. As we're coming out, this is again another popular trail for deer. At night you'll see the deer right here at the edge of the field, and why not? Look at all the stuff they get to eat. Beautiful hayfield right here, which goes all the way around. From here, if we just go straight, you're going to see the farmhouse right there. That's the farmhouse. I'll see if I can get a close-up for you. You can kind of get a feel. There's the farmhouse, and of course then you've got the old barn and the corn crib over to the left, and the old red pickup truck. But that's the house, but we're quite a ways away. I would say about a quarter of a mile. So I'm going to take that walk kind of leisurely back as we end this video. So Hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see if I can come up with some other areas to show you, and we'll record it and I'll pass these on. Talk to you later.